Welcome to the Straight Out of Home Video podcast, part of the Geeky Waffle Network. We just watched Recess Christmas Miracle on 3rd Street, or at least the episodes that were in this movie. This is the only film of the franchise that is not available on Disney+. I'm Candace, and with me is my co-host, Arezou. Hey, Arezou.
Hello.
And our special guest, Enby Adams. How are you?
Howdy, I'm doing good. I'm very excited to talk about Recess. Very excited.
The reason I specifically invited you on this episode is because you dressed up as certain someone for Halloween.
Oh, yes. I finally, it was kind of a lifelong dream. I feel like I keep putting it off to dress up as Spinelli on Halloween. And then I also got my partner to dress up as TJ to really, correct. I don't know, round it all out. Also some headcanon, I think.
Yeah, no. Okay, so Recess was a animated TV show that premiered on September 13th, 1997 on ABC as part of Disney's One Saturday Morning. It had 65 half-hour episodes, and they're usually split in two. So there's 2 episodes per season or 2 stories.
2 stories per episode.
2 stories per episode. Well, I'm guessing y'all watched some of this as a kid, right?
Yeah, we didn't have cable when I was a kid, but this was when I was at my grandparents' or my aunt's house. We would, catch whatever we could. So I didn't see the whole thing, but I have seen a decent enough chunk of Recess.
Yeah, I feel like I definitely saw a lot of it, when it was still sort of on. I don't know. Yeah, I think that people kind of insinuate maybe it was on the Disney Channel before. I feel like it was just on TV though at some point because I don't remember having cable a lot.
I think it was on ABC during Saturday mornings. Yeah. And then it was also Disney afternoons too.
Oh, okay. Totally.
When I say cable, I mean any television.
Oh, gotcha.
Even local news did not come to my house.
Oh my! I feel
during the school, my parents were absolutely not, and we would only have it over the summer. So
wow, that's super interesting. I lived the opposite. I feel like.
Yeah, I was raised by TV.
I've definitely seen a lot of Recess. I think watching it. I kind of watched it when it got on to Disney Plus, started it again and remembered a lot of the beginning. So
that theme song song brought memories back.
It awakened something deep inside of you.
Yes.
Every time I hear it.
The series focuses on 6 elementary school students who interact with their classmates and teachers. During recess, the children form their own society, really. And I forgot the kindergartens are these wild people.
Oh yeah,
that was something to watch again.
Yeah, definitely.
The 6th graders are like one of them's the king.
Which he's the king, and he's got these ladies around him fanning him with palm fronds. I did not like that.
No, a lot of these
overthrow him, ladies. Overthrow King Bob or whatever.
A lot of things did not age very well. Let's just say.
Well, it was really funny because this was one of the first times that I think I saw the little warning that Disney Plus puts every now and then when you're watching cartoons, and it'll be hey, some of this stuff isn't aged well. Sorry, I guess, or something. You know what I mean? Kind of a warning. Well, it's funny. I don't know whether I guess it's kind of a warning. The wording is just really funny to me. It wants to be a warning, but it's also kind of but watch it anyway.
It was the 90s.
It's 90s. I'm gone now. I'm Disney Plus. Anyway, bye.
we did our little disclaimer. You can't complain now.
But no, I mean, it's really interesting because I forgot about the kindergartners in a way and how they're just this little feral society. Oh yeah, own little society. But then there is the system. I think Recess is really, I don't know, I guess well written as far as it has not a super obvious, I think when you get to high school, it's very cliquey, but it has this system to it. It has a higher, a caste system almost of and the way the 6th grader is sort of the king and leads everybody. And whenever it's somebody who's older, there's almost a bit of tension between the main cast and 5th graders or the main cast and 6th graders. But when they're dealing with the kindergartners, they're kind of telling people what to do.
So this movie, it was direct to home video, obviously, because that's what we're about on Straight Out of Home Video. But it's one of those things where they put all the episodes together, and there are scenes of them that interlock the stories, and it's pretty much Mrs. Finster, the principal, and oh gosh, what's their teacher's name? Miss Gronk. Yeah, they get stuck. They get snowed in, And like the principal's like, oh, it's TJ and his friend's fault. And they go through these stories kind of thing.
Okay, I was wondering like the connective tissue because like I knew this was a Christmas thing, and I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
Thanksgiving, it's a holiday, it's fine. And then, Mikey and Santa, I'm like, okay, Santa, got it. But then there's one about like Spinelli at Miss Finster's house for the weekend, and I'm like, don't get that. And then there was the other one where TJ's principal for the day, and I'm like, I don't see what either of these have to do. But okay, so that makes more sense now.
Yeah. They just picked random things. But the main one is the yes, Santa, Mikey does shave.
Yes, Mikey, Santa does shave.
Yes, episode.
Yeah.
And that one made me laugh. Like, I was like, that was the first one I watched. And I was like, this is kind of clever in a few regards. Like, instead of saying hooligans, Finsta says euligans. And I was like, that's
Oh
cute.
my God.
Oh, no, I think we're burying the lead here, which is that it turns out, in this special that Santa is real. And he sounds like James Earl Jones.
Because he is James Earl
I
Jones.
know, it's wild. Like, he said
Oh, yeah.
2 words. I'm like, that guy sounds like James Earl Jones. And then the more he's talking, I'm like, it is James Earl Jones.
Yeah, I had to
Yeah.
check that.
What?
I totally forgot about that. Like, I did remember Mikey's, like, he can sing like an opera singer pretty much. And I did remember, like, I remembered it a bit. Like, I remember how, like, when I was watching it, like, where the story was going. And so I knew that there was sort of this, like, character coming in. And then it was just like all of a sudden James Earl Jones. And I was like, wait a second. And I was like, I think when I was a kid, if you had any kind of dramatic, deep voice, I was like, that's just James Earl Jones anyway. And if, everybody is just any dramatic, deep voice, even when Mikey was singing, I was like, that's probably James Earl Jones. But then it was actually James Earl Jones. And I was like, wait, my childhood just put them all together. And I'm like, that's actually James Earl Jones, though. I feel like it was really funny also noticing in one of the episodes, I feel like in the principal one, speaking of James Earl Jones. Yeah, like I just think that they might have also got it because, there's some Star Wars nerds on there. Because like just in one like quick second when TJ's the principal and he does something bad, I feel like Mikey's just like, he's more machine than kid now. And just like says it. And then we just go on and nobody ever really, it just kind of got snuck in there. And I was like, oh yeah. There's a Star Wars nerd in there.
There's so many references, but like one thing that really made me laugh out loud was like, and yes, Mikey, Santa does shave. They're trying to explain to Mikey, like, oh, well, it can't be Santa at the mall. It can't be Santa in the parade because he can't make that many appearances this time of year. And Spinelli goes like, yeah, that's how Elvis died.
Oh my God.
And I was like, what?
Yeah. I think it's really interesting, like watching Recess now as an adult because it's like I could leave it. Like I feel like I'd have like when I watched it, just left it on too, and kind of been like, I'm just gonna ride this ride for a bit now because it's still entertaining. Like as an adult, yeah, it has so many jokes that I think when I was a kid, especially when I was watching Recess, it's like I feel like I was, kind of you're just kind of wanting a little bit of edginess. Of course, you're like a kid, so that's very relative, but. It's like, oh, I feel like they say jokes that I don't understand.
Yeah.
But I can tell that other people do. It's some kind of reference. So it's really funny, like being old now, though, and older, dear God.
Older.
Yeah, older. But and seeing what those references are and being able to have the aha moment now.
Yeah, like the whole thing, other than like Mikey trying to figure out if Santa's real, is that there's this Hollywood producer who's like, I'm trying to pick a school to do this pageant live for 5 billion people. And the principal obviously wants it to be his school because he wants the props. And they're like, we are like all about political correctness. Nobody can complain about this because we have Druids, we have Kwanzaa, we have Hanukkah, we have everything. And I was like, what?
Okay, but the guy from Hollywood kept threatening to throw it to a luau in Waikiki. I'm like, do that. That sounds more interesting.
Oh yeah, I think now, especially like as I've gotten older and like gotten into content creation and really more also like getting into meeting people who are content creators and like just kind of asking them about their life and then being a like theater nerd and seeing people who've gone on to like productions, whether that's TV or like plays. But anyway, so it's just really funny to also now watch it as an adult and be like, there's no way they would let this kid like blabber on. And like, if we stumbled for like 5 seconds, somebody would be like, cut, like I was just like, but I loved Recess because it suspends reality long enough to believe that we will make this work on TV so that Mikey can give his big singing solo.
It was cute. I was like,
Yeah.
this is quality stuff. I wasn't like an idiot as a kid to think this was a good TV show. Like it was good.
I think where this, I think, has the benefit, I haven't seen the other Recess movies, I should say, but where this has the benefit over some of the other things we cover on this show is like, it's not something they made to try to capture the magic of the show. It's just 4 episodes of the show with like threaded together. Like some of the Disney movies we talk about here, they wanted it to be a show, but it wasn't strong enough to be a show. So they put that thread narrative together with some relatively weak TV episodes, but they didn't do that with this. Like it was part of an ongoing series. So I think that's like, this was good. Like,
I feel like it was interesting that it was also like interesting how, yeah, it was sort of like pieced together. Or I think even with some of the other Recess movies, I do think that when I think about those in comparisons to like other, either like when I think about either TV shows that become movies or sometimes even movies that might try to like that IP becomes a TV show.
Yeah.
They're sort of like trying to do one or the other. And I feel like, so sometimes I think about like the Simpsons movie and how like vastly different the style and everything of that is than just a regular Simpsons, right? But I feel like Recess always is like, has stuck to like pretty much its guns. Like I think they're a very like good example of like just a classic American TV show, like in style wise, like it's succinct. They just throw out jokes quickly and it's over in about 10 minutes, you know, and then we take a break, we start the next 10-minute episode. And I feel like the movies are kind of like that. They were like, well, what if we just had an hour instead of that 10 minutes? And they're like, yeah, okay, we'll do that.
There's one theatrical one, and I think that's the only one I saw, which was somebody's trying to get rid of summer break. And that is like the ultimate, you know, recess. So TJ partners up with the principal and like all the school kids, and they're like trying to battle the school board member. If I'm remembering this right as a child, it had some heart. It has some heart to it. And I just, you know, appreciate seeing like 6 friends, you know, hanging out and just doing their thing. And it made me want to play kickball again. Because in Principal for the Day, it begins with TJ playing kickball.
Yeah, I think that I love Recess a lot. Like I said it before too, and I keep saying it to my partner and they just keep nodding their head every time I talk about it. But it'll be like, I feel like it was also like weirdly like as a kid, like, or like as an adult now and being, you know, queer and thinking about, you kind of think of where does that started, and sometimes you're like, oh, it was always there. Sometimes you kind of remember times where you are more consciously like, oh, that was a moment. But I feel like with Recess, it's so funny. Like I was obsessed with the Ashleys, but in my head, I was like always one of them, I guess, you know, even though I was like not rich or anything, but I was like, I am good at like entitlement based on nothing. I like these girls. Like they're great.
I was telling Arezou beforehand, I'm like, the Ashleys were the original Mean Girls, the original plastics.
Oh my God. They really were.
Scandalous.
Yeah. I used to say scandalous so much randomly. I mean, I say random quotes from TV or movie at any moment, but when I was a kid, that was one of my main ones. And then also Spinelli, like dressing up as Spinelli was so wild though. But because I do feel like in Spinelli, that was one of the first times where now stepping outside of sort of like gender roles as an adult, it's like I was like, oh yeah, this is my gender. When people are like, I don't mean non-binary as in a third gender, I just mean non-binary as in Spinelli, I guess, you know, like. Oh yeah, rewatching it now. I think I watched one too where she was supposed to dance, and she's like, "But that's for girls," you know. And they were like, "You are a girl," and she's just like. Psst. But I also love that where it's like in my brain, you know, I'm like imagining Spinelli be like, "I transcend whatever a girl is, fool, but I will dance. Yes, I will do it. Yes."
I love that read of Spinelli. I really do.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was, yeah, but I like also, I don't know if y'all like watching it as adults, I thought it was really interesting too that like the main story or message kind of seems to be like stay a kid in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Don't grow up too fast. All that.
Yeah,
kind of
enjoy
focus
your
on what's important.
Be with friends and everything like that.
I think it's really interesting thinking about like, yeah, the kind of influences it had on me as well ish, you know, when I think about like those messages and how they stuck. Like I do think that when I think about Recess, I do get this like little nostalgia happiness that is kind of the reminder that I think even now it's like really growing up is like this weird thing that like the adults in this show are kind of always pushing on the kids. and they're always sort of like weirdly fighting against it, right? It's always so dramatic what the adults want to do. They like want to torture them with vegetables or something.
Yeah, the principal says, "Hello, future people," to the children, like they are currently people.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, what?
Yeah. So I just love that, like in the like shorts, right? It was like Spinelli kind of like having to realize that somebody that they are like think of as antagonistic is a person, right? But it still wasn't like
has more.
Yeah.
I like that too, because like as a kid, you don't think your teachers have lives outside of school.
Yeah.
Like I remember seeing a teacher at the grocery store with their children. I'm being like, what? I was like 6. I was like,
you mean you don't live at the school?
Yeah, exactly. That's what I thought. I thought like they had like a room on the side and just like, you know, their whole life was being my teacher.
Yeah, this is upsetting. Yeah, it was so weird to see that. I love that was kind of the like beginning or like the bit to that episode was, what if not only did you have to see your teacher outside of school, but then you had to like spend a lot of time with them. And it's like, it's funny how like I think it also just that show captures a lot of interesting things that I forget now being an adult, but that they, you know, I think they did a really great job of sort of thinking about being a kid and trying to remember little fears and like little things that are small now, like they're silly, but at the time they are huge like that. Yeah.
What I couldn't comprehend about that episode was she's staying with this woman, and I'm like, you have 5 best friends that you could have stayed with this weekend. And I understand for plot reasons, but what I don't understand is why your parents didn't just call like Gretchen's parents and be like, can she stay for 2 days?
Yeah, this is where I don't have kids.
In my school.
So I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, she had Spinelli had to stay with Prince Jay because there was a babysitting convention out of town or something.
And all the babysitters had left town because famously every babysitter is a professional babysitter.
Yeah, going to conventions. I know I was at 16. Just being like, let me learn those lessons.
Yeah, I feel like that's where you flex being a like kids show. What's the plot point here? And it's like, it's a kid show. Yes. We'll just say there's a babysitter convention.
Kids are not going to question this.
Yeah, I didn't question it at the time.
And the adults will laugh, which as an adult, I did kind of go like, babysitter convention. That sounds like a really boring convention. No, I don't know. I've babysitted a bit, and the actual babysitting is not boring.
But so maybe it probably like
the babysitting convention.
Actually, no, it's 3 days of them venting is what it is.
Right. I was gonna say how many panels can you have, but you know what? I'm gonna take it back because I'm really into the Babysitters Club show on Netflix. So I'm just gonna take it back. I don't want to discourage babysitters now.
But yeah, overall, fun. It was fun. It was cute. It was cute, nostalgic, and it holds up for kids today. Like I think they would have fun watching it.
Yeah, I think that it holds up. Like, I think I'm somebody who spent a lot of time, you know, once I sort of discovered that like there was like tropes and you know what I mean? Like the really like, oh my God, there's like bad things or like these ideas and themes in our pop culture. And I was like, I'm going to analyze them all. And so I think that I can definitely watch Recess and kind of point out, yeah, you'll see a little bit of these things here. But there's nothing that was super or overt or like mega cringe. Like I didn't get the same feeling as if I was watching like, I don't know, Peter Pan or whatever. Like that one is rough, you know, but this one was kind of like every now and then there was like, oh, that didn't age too well here and there. You know, there are definitely some of those, but at the same time, there were also stuff where I was like, oh, go ahead and make that joke back in the 90s. Okay.
It was more progressive than I thought it was going to be. For the time.
Yeah, I think if your kid is watching Recess, it was dope. Or like, you know, you'll be fine. And like, I think watching it, I think like, I thought a lot about my niece and my nephew, and I see a little bit of them as in some of those like characters on the show for sure. So yeah, I was like, oh, you know, I like this. I think this still holds up. I think whenever I'm forced to be around my niece and nephew, I mean, when they're forced to be around me and watch whatever pop culture I make them, I'm going to mix in Recess now. Boop, boop, boop.
So Enby, where can people find you online?
Yes. They can find me at Enby Adams TV on Twitter. And then on Twitch, you can just find me as Enby Adams. And yeah, I think going forward, I'm going to be mostly streaming on like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesdays, and then taking a little break. So January, I'll be streaming on Twitch more. But yes, find me on Twitter where I will be tweeting.
Okay, and you can find Arzu at Arzu and Mean on Twitter. You can find me at Candace is a Geek, and you can find the Geeky Waffle at Geeky_Waffle on Twitter, the Geeky Waffle everywhere else, including Facebook and Patreon and YouTube and all the fun things. So we hope you have a happily ever after until James Earl Jones is Santa Claus, and then he gets even happier because that's awesome.